Hey there, hostages! Welcome back to the greatest show on the internet called Hoss Reads the Top 100 Comics of All Time and Talks About Them One by One. This is episode number 2, which is issue number 99. Yeah. This is Sex Criminals, issue number 10 by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarski. It is called Alone Together. Now, I had heard of Sex Criminals before, and I had heard some very good things about it. What I had not actually ever heard was what it was actually about. So if you could do me a favor right now, if you've never heard of Sex Criminals, take a minute right now and stop and just think what you think this series might be about. And just know there's a chance that you're wrong. Anyway, let's dive into this issue and see what I thought. Oh, but also be forewarned, the content gets a little adult. It's called Sex Criminals. Though the editing here is going to use less images than I usually would. As I said, I'm rating these as a single standalone issue that I can read without any context. So my last week's Sandman did very well. Sex Criminals? Honestly, I was a little lost going into it. Thankfully, Sex Criminals has a previously in page, which, having not read any of it before, didn't help. It was actually useless. Anyway, let's finally now jump in blind. It starts, and as I said, I'm a little lost not knowing anything about the characters. There's a guy named John. He's talking to his psychiatrist, asking if sex makes him a bad person. He meets up with a girl named Susie. It might be his girlfriend. They briefly discuss therapy and chicken, and then they go off to meet another woman, and the three of them engage in awkward conversation until they cut straight to the chase and ask if she experiences strange things when she sexually climaxes, because so do they. The three of them go on to drag out a conversation over a few pages more than it needs, discussing things that I'm sure were in previous issues. From there, we cut to another couple who gets 3 pages unrelated to the main story, and they don't pop up again. But he is a gynecologist who loves vaginas, and she gets a lot of dick pics, one of which was wearing a hat. Anyway, John and Susie and the woman they met, Dr. Anna Kincaid, the three of them go to a hotel and see if the three of them can achieve simultaneous orgasms from 2 different motel rooms. Now, there is a subplot here where John wants to tell Susie that he loves her, but he ends up chickening out and just saying that he loves it when she cups his balls, which admittedly is great. But that's besides the point. They achieve climax, and Dr. Kincaid transforms into a weird sex ghost. And the issue ends with some operatives or something or other keeping tabs on them. In case you couldn't guess by my level of enthusiasm, this issue didn't exactly wow me. Honestly, it doesn't hold up as a standalone issue. Like, maybe it would be better if I read the entire series up to this point. But this video series isn't about the best series, it's about the best issues. So that does mean like the issue should just stand alone on its own. And I have the outside opinion here to judge it. Though, that is going to get a little trickier when the Marvel and DC stuff starts popping up. So, you know what? In the name of science...
One pair of pants later.
Okay, I just read the first 9 issues of Sex Criminals, then I read issue 10 again. Honestly, it does make the issue make a little bit more sense, but it doesn't really help it as a great issue. Like, the whole series, honestly, is pretty disjointed and somewhat hard to follow. Granted, I did read it all pretty quickly, but I often found myself questioning whether or not the pages were actually in order. It is a good book and a great innovative idea, but I think, like many other modern comics, it suffers from having the story dragged out over several issues when it could have had a better flow if it were just condensed down a bit. I'm going to put this in spot number 2, the lowest possible slot at this moment in time, just simply because I expected it to be a little better, but also it wasn't as good as the Shakespeare Sandman issue. So, I mean, expect this one to drop down as the other ones come in. As I've said previously, you can find this list on shelfdust.com in a link I have down below. You can check the list out for yourself, or like I said, subscribe to my channel and keep coming back every Monday for the next 100 or so Mondays to see what I think of all these issues. You guys have been great. Thank you for liking the video, which I know you did. Anyway, stay hossy, and I will catch you in the next video.